Hello, my friends. Today we're gonna talk about a mid-year freak out book tag, which is kind of like questions for you to kind of see and me to see what we've liked this year, what we haven't liked, what were surprises, what do we look forward to in the coming half of the year. There are 12 questions, so we're gonna answer those and see what our first half of the year has been looking like. The first question is best book you've read so far in 2024. And I don't have that book with me because it was lent to me by my library, but I'll put a picture up somewhere. My best book I think was The Wishing Game by Meg Schaefer. I heard some good things about it, but I didn't hear much about what it was about at all. Really didn't know what I was getting into. And I started reading this book, and the more I was reading it, the more I was entering this world that this book was in. It was just, it was amazing. It was magical.
Magic. Magic.
Our main character wanted to adopt a little boy that was in the foster care system, and she was a teacher at the school that he attended, and she didn't have the financial means to adopt him, but she really wanted to. And then she found a contest from one of her favorite childhood authors that was like you come to his island where he lives, compete in these games, trivia thing, and if you win his book that hasn't been published yet, his latest book, and you can sell it to be published yourself or whatever you want to do with it. So she figured she was going to go to the island, she was going to try to win, and if she won, she would sell the book so that way she could afford to adopt the little boy that she loved. And it was just adorable. And I loved being on that island and hearing the little puzzles and things that she was trying to figure out, and the love she had for this little boy that she wanted to adopt so badly. A little emotional, and I don't like to cry, and so I was worried about it, but it was definitely the best book I read this year. And maybe that's because it didn't quite make me cry. Question number 2 is the best sequel you've read so far this year. Okay, best sequel. One of my favorite authors is Sarah Adams. The first book I read by her is called The Cheat Sheet. And I don't know if that was her first book ever or not, but she just a month or so ago released the second book to that one. And it's called The Rule Book. And I don't own that one either. The Bookmobile brought that one to me too. So I'll put another picture. But The Rule Book, it was amazing. It's clean romance. I absolutely loved it. See, because in the first one, you get a little glimpse of these characters, like the best friends, kind of thing, and then you get the actual story, their actual story in this one. The rule book is a woman who is a sports agent, and her very first client happens to be her ex-boyfriend, her college ex.
Oh no.
And she broke his heart when they were in college and never told him why. And so he's doing everything in his power to make her quit. So it's kind of like second chance, but they hate each other and they got to work together. Well, she's trying to work together and he's not. I enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to seeing. I think she has another book coming out at the end of this year, and I'm looking forward to reading that one too. Question 3, new release you haven't read yet, but you want to. So this one is kind of, I don't know if you'd call it a new release, but I'm going with it anyway because my video, my rules. Sarah Adams had a duology come out a few years ago. There were 2 of them, The Enemy and The Match, and I really don't know which one comes first. I'm sorry. And I never got to those yet. I've read everything else. Those are the only 2 of hers that I have not read yet.
No way.
But recently they've like taken them off the market or whatever, and they're re-releasing them, like re-debuting whatever. I think one of them just came out, and one of them's coming out in a few months. So definitely want to get to those because I have yet to read a Sarah Adams that I did not like. So I definitely definitely want to read those. Question number 4 is most anticipated release for the second half of the year. Again, I have a few of those because Sarah Adams has hers coming out, that re-release, and I definitely want to get to that one. But there are 2 from Jennifer Lynn Barnes in the Inheritance Games series, and I love the Inheritance Games. One of her next ones is coming out at the end of July, and I think the last one is in November. So those are definitely the ones I'm looking forward to the most. Question number 5 is the biggest disappointment. I have this book on hand. Okay, it's a classic, and when I brought up reading this, everyone I talked to about reading this was like, "Oh, you're gonna cry," because I went into this, never have seen the movie, never read the book, obviously, so I had no idea what was happening. And they're like, "Oh, it's emotional. You're gonna cry. It's the best." Blah blah blah. I felt completely indifferent to everybody in this book. Like the crying part, the part that makes you cry, I didn't cry at all. And I feel feel like that might make me a bad person. I don't know. But it's the reality of it. Little Women. I read this, and I wouldn't say that it was a bad book, but I really just went through the whole book and felt like I didn't connect to any of the characters. I didn't connect to anything that was happening. I really just did not care at all. So this was definitely my biggest disappointment, especially because people had hyped it up so much. Question number 6 is the biggest surprise. So the biggest surprise was definitely The Prison Healer. I've never heard of it, but I got it from my library and was, like The Wishing Game, was absorbed in it. I didn't say that this one was like the best book of the year because it wasn't as emotional, and it didn't, I don't know, it just didn't, it didn't hit the same way that The Wishing Game did. But The Prison Healer was a great story, and that was only the first book in at least a trilogy, and it left off on a big mind-blowing moment. So I definitely need to get into book number 2 and see what happens next. Question number 7. Favorite new author? Debut or new to you? So we're gonna say this lady, Kristen Boyce. I picked up this book just on cover vibes completely from Barnes & Noble. I had never heard anything about it, about her or anything, but this book was so cute. Such a cute little YA romance. Light and fluffy vibes. Don't let me! She had 2 other books, Hot British Boyfriend and Hot Dutch Daydream. I have since read Hot British Boyfriend from my library, and I am actually currently, in this moment, when I'm recording this, reading the Hot Dutch Daydream. And I just love the sweet, the innocence of these romance books that she's written, and I will probably be picking up everything she writes from here on out. So Christy Boyce. Question number 8. Newest favorite character. So my newest favorite character I'd probably say is from the Rule Book by Sarah Adams. She was a very determined lady, and she had everything working against her in this book, and she was just determined and still upbeat and positive through every situation she was going through. And I guess I respect that, and I look up to that, and I hope that I can be like an upbeat person even when things aren't always rainbows and sunshine. So I really enjoyed reading her book. Question number 9. Book that made you cry. All right. Book that made you cry. So I know I've had at least 2 to 3 books that made me cry this year, and I hate crying. I really do. I hate crying. If I know a book's going to make me cry, usually I will not read that book on purpose because I don't want to cry. I've said it before, when I stumbled upon a Kristen Hanna book, The Nightingale, when I first started reading, and it devastated me, and I have never read anything by her again because I'm under the impression that all her books are like that. So anyway, but this one was unavoidable because you cannot read that much of a series and not read the last one. Kingdom of Ash. This is probably the biggest book I've ever read, the fattest book I've ever read. It was amazing. I loved the entire series. It was worth the tears in the end, but it was definitely it was kind of hard to read in the sense that what happened made you cry. So I have a love-hate relationship with this one. The Throne of Glass series was amazing, and I loved it. And this one's evil because it made me cry. Question number 10 is a book that made you happy. Books that made me happy. So, anything Sarah Adams, Christy Boyce, like I said, those cute little YA novels that are light and fluffy and just give you like the feel-good vibes definitely made me happy. The Wishing Game made me happy. It was a good one. Try that one out. Number 11, the most beautiful book you've bought so far this year. Unfortunately, I don't have my most beautiful book that I bought this year in my home because it's lent out to a friend. But I bought Lynn Painter's The Do-Over, and it has beautiful little teal sprayed edges with the white hearts on it, and it's the first book I ever bought with sprayed edges, and it is just adorable, and I love that book. But it is lent out right now, so I can't show you, but I'll try to put a picture somewhere up here and see if I could find one with the sprayed edges so you can see what I'm talking about. But that's my most beautiful book. Number 12, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? Anything on my TBR shelf. I have been making a lot of progress on my TBR shelf, especially with making videos and pulling books off my TBR shelf when I do the prompts and things like that for my TBR for the month. And I've made a good dent in getting through my books faster and not running off to the library and stuff as much, which has been good. But I still have a good amount of books on my shelf. So anything on my TBR shelf to get the number down would be good. Okay, so I think the books that I want to read before the end of the year, I think my main 3 that I would want to get through is the 3rd book in Wolf Hall, The Mirror and the Light. I literally last night finished the 2nd one, Bringing Up the Bodies. So I definitely want to get to this one and finish off this little series. And then Crossed and Reached. I read Matched this past month, and loved it. So I definitely want to read these 2 and finish this off too, because I was really absorbed in this story. So that's probably the books I want to read before the end of the year. Just those 3. That is my mid-year book freak out tag, whatever you call this thing. We had some highs, we had some lows. I'm looking forward to what the rest of the year will bring me. Talk to me about what you've read, if you agree with me on any of these good books and disappointing books, and let me know what you're reading. Love to talk to you. Like this video and subscribe if you are enjoying this video and want to see more content. Remember that Jesus loves you and I love you and you are important.